think that's been my anthem this whole year, that He's ever almighty to save. When you see so much life change, that song can be your anthem. So welcome to Broken Part 3 student testimony. God put this together. Don't think man put this together, God put this together. And I'm just excited to hear these stories of how God's changed people's life. Let me tell you, there's never been a strong person without a broken past. There's never been a strong person without a broken past. And 2 Corinthians 12:9, we read that His grace is enough. He says that His grace is all we need. That His strength is made perfect in our weakness. It's our lowest point that God does His greatest work. It's our lowest point that God does His greatest work. Chains are going to hit the floor today, and broken lives are going to get restored today. I'm excited. Would y'all welcome Ashton for the first testimony of the day?
Hey, again. So I'm Ashlyn, like you said. I'm a senior here, but this is only my second year here. Basically, before I explain that, I was born and raised in a Christian home. If someone were to ask me what was life before you knew Christ, I don't know what I would say. I always went to church. I would always be at the altar. I was a really good showy person. I was great at being a good Christian when I was a kid. And so I never really struggled throughout my childhood. Things were pretty good. And then middle school hit me. In middle school, you know, those wonderful years, that just really hit me. And instead of living that Christian life, I just wanted to be liked. I wanted to be the person that people wanted to be around. I wanted to just be that person that was popular. And so in the process of trying to be that person, I changed everything about me. And I wasn't well liked. And it was like, why did I change myself so drastically for nothing? And I really went into a pit of depression. Older people, when they would see something was different, they didn't believe that a 6th grader could have depression. And so often, like, older people may not realize that we're hurting, and we can hurt when we're really young. And so I never really had true support, and so I just hid my depression. And in 8th grade, though, I went to a youth camp, kind of like the one Victor has been talking about, that he will talk about. But I went to a youth camp with my church, and I don't know, I couldn't tell you what the speaker said, but he said something about depression and how even in our lowest, God can love us, or He still loves us no matter what. And that just really hit me. And so I've heard that my whole entire life, but it really clicked for me. And that was the day that I said, God, I'm going to trust You throughout my hardships. And I asked Him for patience and for wisdom. And He definitely gave me those. There's a joke, like, don't pray for patience, because He'll definitely show you how to be patient. And I asked for wisdom. And before you have wisdom, you have to go through hardships. And so that was, I'll get to that in a second, sorry. So I guess my thing, whenever I was struggling, before I really met Christ in 8th grade, I turned to cello. Cello, it's an instrument like a violin, but really big, in case you didn't know. But that was my thing. I love music. Music has been a huge part of my life. And so after, in middle school, when you can decide to pick an academy, I chose Salem. I went to their Visual and Performing Arts Academy for vocal and instrumental. And I followed in my sister's footsteps because she was there for instrumental as well. And I was so excited. I had just given my life to Christ going into freshman year, and I had my cello. Everything was going great. And so I went to Salem, just loving the Lord, showing people that I love the Lord like I did it in middle school. And in April of my freshman year, I began noticing severe numbness and tingling in my hands. And I went to the doctor after a month of that, and after it only getting worse, and they told me, there were so many different diagnoses that I had, but my pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and no amount of medication that they could put me on, no amount of physical therapy or dry needling, any of that. Nothing could help me. And so they just told me to stop playing cello. And I don't know if someone's ever told you to stop doing the one thing that you love doing, but it sucks. At that point, when the doctor told me that I needed to stop, I said, God, I'm done with you. I don't understand why you would let me hurt so bad. Why, if I'm following you, why in the world would you take the one thing that I love away, if you truly loved me? And so that was going into the sophomore year that I had that mindset. And sophomore year was just terrible for me. My pain got worse. It developed in my spine as well, so I couldn't sleep, stand, walk, run, anything. I couldn't do any of that without pain, and I still couldn't play any instrument. And I was really hurt by people at my school. I was bullied, I was harassed, and I was sexually assaulted. And that was really hard, and I didn't tell anybody. I was quiet. So often that's what happens because it's hard to come to terms with that kind of pain. And so in April of my sophomore year, I tried to take my life. And it didn't work, obviously, and I knew that I needed help. I knew that there was a sign for me still being alive. So I told my mom that I needed help, and I was hospitalized for a week. And in that time, I could only talk to my parents for 15 minutes a day, maybe, on the phone. But I had my sister bring me my Bible, and I was like, God, I'm gonna try this thing with you, so I need you to speak to me. It's now or never. And so this verse that is gonna pop up, it's in James 1:2-4. I just said, Lord, speak to me. I opened my Bible, and this is what it says. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And I saw that for the first time in my life throughout my trials. I said, God, I knew that there was a purpose for my pain. There was a purpose that I had to go through those hardships. And I believe that it's because there's other people that are hurting that don't know Jesus. And so my job is to go and tell my story so that I can maybe share how I've come to terms with things, how I've truly healed. And so ever since, obviously now I'm at Tallwood, I switched here October of my junior year, so last year. And just the things that the Lord has done in my life since has been amazing. He has shown me His love and how amazing He is. And I will never, ever turn back away from Him when we say that. But I will always hold on to the promises that He says, because I cling to this verse. Anytime I will go through hardships, and things aren't easy now, but I will cling to the promises in this verse. So thanks.
The second student, Michaela.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela. I'm a freshman here at Tallwood. I actually go to the academy here, and that's how I met most of my friends. So I'm not going to share my whole life story, but I will tell you a little bit about me. Like Ashlyn, I grew up in the church. I actually moved from one church to another when I was probably 6 or 7. At the second church I went to, I got baptized when I was 7 or 8. And I grew up my whole life knowing God and knowing about God. But I got baptized when I was 7 or 8, but I was peer pressure from my sister. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do it. But yeah, and I never really took my relationship with God seriously until I was about 12 or 13, so middle school years. I had a rough 7th grade year. I committed a sin that seemed really big to me, but it wasn't even that big. And I just like was super lost in middle school, and I didn't really follow God or read His Bible or just pray to Him. But yeah, I didn't really take God seriously, and I was like, oh, I'll just live the life that I'm living, continue living that. But I'll just share what God has done in my life this school year, because it's honestly been one of the hardest years for me, but it's what I call the greatest years for me. And I'll just share the definition of a testimony, and it's actually evidence or proof provided by the existence or appearance of something. So we're all here to listen to people's testimonies, just to hear their proof of what God has done in their lives, and proof that He is real, and proof that He exists in our lives. So some of the hard parts of my year in this life was that I was stressed a lot, and I was depressed for a couple months from about, I guess you could say, January, which is weird because January is my birthday month, if you guys know me. But and it was actually towards the end of January, because I had a youth lock-in towards the end of January, and that was really great. But I was still depressed, and I wasn't fulfilled. I guess my depression it wasn't as bad until, I guess, April, which is really recent. But I remember one day I was super sick, I think it was cold. I had just gotten strep twice in a row, Christmas, and then I think February or March again, and then I got sick with the cold, and I was like, God, why do you keep getting me sick? Like, what is this? And I had like so much work to do, and like I couldn't do my work while I was sick, so like that was really stressful. And I was just really stressed because of my family. Like I had a lot of problems going on at home, a lot of tension. Me and my parents, we don't really talk that much, and we're not that close. I was stressed because of like schoolwork. Like I could never have good time management, and I was like piling on homework, and like that just stressed me out because I was always worried about getting like super good grades, because I was worried about making my parents proud, not really worried about what God wants for me, and like making Him proud. And so, like I told you, I got sick with a cold. And there's just this time where I was home alone, and I just started crying. Like, I started crying, and I was like, God, why? And it was really hard for me because, like, I guess I've spent my most of my school year just being so prideful, and God had to break me. And like when you're metaphorically speaking, my soul was on my knees, but really I was on my bed. So I was just praying, God, I need to come back to you. I need to put you first and put you in the center of my life. And that was a huge turning point of my walk with Christ. Like Ashley said, there's a purpose for our pain, and His greater purpose is to grow us, like He said in that verse, James 1. And I also have another verse to share with you guys, and it just, a summary is just that there's a positive and greater purpose for our pain. And in my perspective, the purpose for me was to grow me. I was really weak in my walk with Christ, and I wasn't really moving or growing. And that's like saying, if all of us right here today were babies at this age, who would want to be a baby at 15? Like, there'd be something wrong. So we can't just stay a baby forever in our Christian walk. So I'm just going to share Romans 5:3-4. Get to okay. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. So, just a short, if that's okay. If you guys are suffering from depression, I promise you that it does get better. There's a hope set before you, and I want you guys to focus on that. And that God has set the hope before you by His Son, just sending Him down because He loved us so much. So thank you guys, and remember, broken is better.
Sorry. Gotta get my stuff together. Y'all welcome the next speaker. Come on.
Okay, so hey guys, so I'm gonna be a little hard to go after those too. Wow. Okay, anyway, so my name's Abby Martin. I'm a junior here, and this is my story. So my story with Christ basically begins when I popped out of my mom. Like, my parents are Christians, and they brought me to church, and they were like, hey, this is this man Jesus, and you should love him. And I was like, okay, because when you're a kid, you just do what your parents tell you to do most of the time. And so, I go to Sunday school, and they're like, who built the ark? And I'm like, Jesus. And they're like, good job, gold star. And, Jesus did not build the ark. But, you say Jesus every time they ask you a question, and you're right, because it's Sunday school. And so I'm actually really thankful for that time in my life, because I didn't know what it meant to have a relationship with God, but that laid the foundation for me to help me with harder times. So it started, fast forward a bit, elementary, whatever, middle school, that happened. And at the end of my 8th grade year, it went through a really hard time with my family. So my dad was in and out of the hospital, so he wasn't working, and my mom just had a part-time job. So the funds were really tight, and it was really hard on my parents. They were fighting a lot, and got pretty close to a divorce. And it was really hard on me because I'm an only child, and so I didn't have any siblings to go through this with. So I was pretty much going through it by myself because I didn't want to tell anybody. So I'm like, oh, I have this image that I have to keep up. I'm the perfect Christian girl that doesn't go through anything, And so I was like, no, you used to know about this. It's fine. So when you keep your pain pent up inside of you, you finally burst. And so, so I was like, whatever. So I'm just gonna keep going to youth group just because, it's fine. But because of that foundation, I knew God was there. But I kind of shoved him in the corner. I was like, okay, I know you're there, but you're too far away from me right now, and I don't feel like talking to you. So I just kind of went to youth group, hang out with my friends. I didn't really care what they had to say. But one time, a youth pastor was like, hey guys, so we're gonna go to Guatemala this summer on a missions trip. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. I'm in the Global Studies Academy just beginning of my freshman year, and I was like, might as well travel, get some culture points, ride those. And so I was like, all right, so I'm going to travel to Guatemala. And so I signed up, and I fundraised and all that stuff, and I went. And I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, okay, I'll build some houses, I'll practice my Spanish, because I was in Spanish 1 that year. So, hola, ¿cómo te llamas? Oh, me llamo Abby. And that's all I could say, burrito. And so yeah, that was basically it. But God did so much more with it. There was so much more than beans and rice. Even though that's all we eat. But it was so great. It was the first time that God actually spoke to me for the first time. And it was a lot more personal. It wasn't just gold star Jesus. It was actually hey, I'm real. I am ever present in your life, and I am moving, and I hear your prayers, and your prayers actually make a difference. And so that was a huge turning point in my life. And when I went home, I was so passionate about my faith and what had happened in Guatemala, and I started to get plugged in and actually care about the Jesus aspect of stuff. So I started caring about what I heard at youth group, and I came to FCA, and I started helping get Young Life started, and become Young Life. And I started getting plugged into those things, and just that passion. I was like, the gospel is literally life or death. Jesus' saving power is life or death for people. And so I was like, if I keep that to myself, then that's pretty selfish. If you have the chance to tell your friend something that's going to save them from death, shouldn't you tell them? So that really kind of helped with my passion. So I have a nice verse if it's up there. So, Romans 1:16, New International Version.
For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. So that's sort of like a key verse for that. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I'm known to my friends as the Jesus freak, and I'm like, thank you, I'm a proud Jesus freak. And so that's basically that. So to talk about my shirt real quick, hashtag How to Life. It's a student-led movement. It's national. It's moving all across the country, and I took the leadership to help bring it to Virginia Beach. So if you're interested in being on the leadership team or want to know some more about that, let me know. And that is all. Woo.
We went to a meeting for it this Sunday. Not to put a spoiler alert, but it's going to be awesome. We got a great team. We're hoping for 1,000. We still got to find a venue, but it's going to be awesome. Without further ado, I want to bring up Destiny. Destiny, her story was really awesome. I can't wait for you to
Oh, hey guys. I'm Destiny. I'm a freshman, and okay. I'll just start. I had a. Oh my tips. I had a really good childhood. It was my real dad left me at 1, so I grew up with my stepdad, and he's been with me for, now. But he's pretty great. But in 8th grade, he did something that kind of, wasn't so good. So things got a little out of hand, and my parents started to argue, and they were close to a divorce, and it was just pretty bad. I would always keep it to myself, and I was so dark. I was like didn't even say anything to anyone, and I was quiet, and I cried a lot, and it was just a really bad thing for me. But when I came to school, September, Victor, he saw me and I was down, because I've always been down since 8th grade, and he told me about Jesus. And I knew about Jesus, and, but he really got me into it, and I started crying in front of everyone. And it just helped me ever since. I've been pretty positive and pretty, nice. And it really helped me because the Lord is so amazing, and He made me who I am now. And I'm not such of a dark person. I spread positivity, and I'm nervous. But the Lord will help you, and He makes everything possible. I never thought that I would be happy again, and I never thought that I would get out of that situation. But my parents are great again. The family's great again. We're all together, and everything is just great. I've met great people here in this FCA. Life's great. It is. So that's all I have to say.
That was great. Would y'all want to welcome Kevin? Come over here, boy.
Hello everybody, my name is Kenneth Boogie. I'm gonna cut this short and sweet. So basically my life is, it was kind of hard for me because I had to go off without my dad a year after I was born because he had left me and my mom. And then ever since then, it was just, me being raised in church all my life. So ever since then, in 2002, my sister Keisha Hogan was born, and God gave me a sister, so I was just like, I'm gonna share this with my sister. So years gone by, a lot of things have been happening that was bad, and I didn't know what to do in my life. I thought, it was just me going bound by the emotions, so I was just like, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do to change it? And then I had to ask God to help me. I had to ask God to forgive me, and then to show me what I needed to do. So I'm here now. Like right now, I'm glad that I'm still alive because I should not be here on this earth. Like 3 different times I should not be here because all of those 3 different times were reasons why God kept me alive today, and then why God kept me moving, and why he told me that I need to keep moving. And I thank Victor, because Victor had allowed me to come up here, and not only that, God allowed me to use me. And he's using me right now to speak to all of you, to tell you guys that my story has, like, I want my story to impact you guys, and I wanted to share this because, you know, things are really rough out there right now, and it's really hard, and a lot of people don't have this type of love that a lot of us in this room have right now. So I just want to say I love all of you guys, and I thank you guys for coming out, and that's it.
You're welcome, Emma. It's her second time sharing with y'all.
Hi, y'all.
Hello.
If y'all don't know who I am, I was just up there, and I'm a freshman in the academy. And this is my second time giving a testimony. So, grew up in a church, participated as much as I could, and as when I was younger, it was just kind of everyday life. But as I started to get older, obstacles started coming my way, and it started like kind of getting me off track of my faith. But then I would try to get back, and then I'd get back on. So constant battle back and forth. But once I got older, it started kind of become more of my schedule than my religion and what I wanted my relationship to be with God. In middle school, life got really tough for me. I started, like, everybody gets called the mean names and comments in elementary school, and it doesn't bother them. But when I hit middle school, it started to hit me really tough, and I got bullied a lot. So I started to change to accommodate to everybody else just to fit in and feel a part. So I changed how I dressed, what I talked about, what I liked, and myself. So in trying to change myself, I developed anorexia and bulimia, and it took a lot away from me because with that it comes self-hatred, and self-hatred turns to depression because you never feel good enough for the people around you. So after battling with that for my middle school years, 8th grade came, and it was tough because I had that. My dad, he moved to California with his family, and haven't seen them since. Seeing them since, exciting, but it was tough, and just my family life with my mom got hostile because I took all my anger out on her, and I still went to church, but God was never in my mind. It was always I had to focus on what I needed to do just to get through the day. And I ended up going to therapy, and everything just went straight downhill. But that year I went to camp. I always go to camp, and it was just kind of thing for the summer, gonna be all happy about it. Go to camp, and just felt like a regular old day. We had these things called nightlife, where it's basically you get really deep with everybody, and you talk about everyone's stories, and talk about yourself, and you learn things about yourself. Just crying at one sort. But basically, the last day he gave a sermon, and it wasn't anything big, but it's basically talking about how you can't handle things on your own. And if you handle things on your own, you're gonna get nowhere. So he basically had everybody come down if they wanted to like accept God or talk to God. And it wasn't anything like exciting, but I just was like, I need this. So I walked down, ended up talking with the leaders and him, and I decided I wanted to accept God into my life because I saw the love and compassion everybody else had for other people, and I wanted love instead of anger. So I accepted God, and then weeks after I was really like focused and passionate about it, reading my Bible, going to church as much as I could, and then high school came. There's a lot of temptations with high school that you gotta like steer away from. So life started getting like back off of track, but I met Victor and I met Jana and everybody that's amazing. And I started coming to FCA and singing, and my second testimony again, it gives you confidence to just be abrupt with your faith and tell everybody and not to be shy from it because...
I want to welcome Gabby next. Come on, Gabby.
everyone. I'm Gabby, and I'm a sophomore. And I just want to say that I kind of feel bad because I don't really feel worthy to be up here because I'm kind of like a new Christian. I grew up in the church my whole life. My parents, once I was born, I just went to church. I go to Atlanta Troy Baptist Church, and until I was like 13, I didn't really know the Lord. My parents would make me pray every night. I would read Bible verses, and I was like, all right. It just seemed like a to-do list. I was like, okay, if I pray, if I go to church, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna go to heaven. And I didn't really realize that having a relationship with the Lord, like I didn't realize that I needed that. And so I got saved when I was in 7th grade. I believe it was in October. And I was in church, and my youth leader said, don't walk out of this place without having a relationship, without knowing that if you die in like 2 seconds, you're going to go to heaven. And at that time, I was trying to minister to my friends and have them go to church. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm a really good Christian. If I tell people about it, I'm going to go to heaven. And then at that moment when she said that, I'm like, I'm not worthy to be speaking to all these people, to all my friends, because I don't even really know what it's like to have a relationship with the Lord. So at that moment, I got saved, but it didn't feel like I got saved. So from then, everything went downhill, and eventually I started struggling with this addiction that I thought was really going to help me. In middle school, it was some of the hardest years of my life. I was so stressed out, and with this addiction, I thought, this is really going to help me. I wasn't thinking about God. I wasn't thinking about my family, my friends. I was like, this is what is going to help me overcome all the stress. And for a little while, it did. But then I realized, I was like, this is just tearing me down. And so one night, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I pulled out my Bible and I started reading, and I got on the ground and I prayed. I felt like I was having a panic attack. I didn't know what to do. And that Sunday, I told my 2 youth group leaders, and they prayed over me. And eventually I told my mom and my parents, and I went to therapy, and I started to overcome the addiction. But I know that God puts you through many trials, and that was just one of them. And although I overcame that, something happened to me very recently that I know is going to change my life forever. And like Emma said, high school comes with so many temptations. And one of these temptations was a guy for me. And so for the past 2 years, I've had struggles. Well, mainly, yeah, for the past 2 years, I've had a lot of struggles making friends that I can keep and that I can rely on anytime that I need. And I would always complain to my youth group friends at church. I'm like, I don't have anyone at school. I don't know anyone. I don't know any Christian friends. I don't know anyone that I can just come and pray with. I don't have anyone. And so I kept praying to God, and my mom prayed too. And at the same time, around the same time, I started to really connect with my youth group friends. And one of my best friends, we lost connection, and God brought her into my life again, and we started talking. And I had a really toxic friend that she kept breaking me down for years and years. And God cut her off, and I was so happy. And then he introduced me to this guy at the same time that everything else was happening. And I was like, wow, he's really nice. God must have brought him to me. He's really blessing this relationship. So I told my parents about him, and they're like, he's not a Christian. Do not invest in him. Do not get emotionally invested in him. It's going to hurt in the end. And then I was like, okay. So I told him, I can't start a relationship with you. I can't do any of this. And I was crying so hard. He's like, no, we're going to be together one day. I'm not going to give up on you. And I was like, wow, he really cares about me. He really knows what he's doing. And we eventually started dating behind my parents' back. And I know that is wrong. And when we were dating, he wasn't like any of the guys I've ever met. Like he said that, I'm in it for the long run. I see a future with you. I know that we're gonna last, and if we ever break up, it's not gonna be for a while. I was like, wow, he really cares about me. This is the one. And I'm starting to read this book called This Changes Everything, and there's this thing called that she wrote. It says 6 things a Christian does according to Paul, and it's that we treasure Christ, we devalue everything else, we put faith in Christ alone, we know Him, we suffer for Him, and we become like Him. And once I read this is after, eventually I had to break up with him because he was manipulating me. He was not a Christian, and I started to realize that I was putting him before God, and I was starting to doubt what I believed, and he was really making me doubt everything that I've believed in my whole life. And we've only been together for 3 months, and that's how emotionally invested in him I was. And I read this, and I was like, I'm not treasuring Christ. I'm putting Him in front of everything. I put Him before my family, my friends. I haven't been connected to Jesus in these past 3 months. And I'm not suffering for Him, and I'm not striving to become like Him. And when I broke up with him, I did it 2 times. One time I didn't mean it, and eventually we got back together. I can't do this, He cares about me so much. How can God, this God that I love, not want me to be with someone that I've been so invested in? And then eventually my mother found out again. And this time I knew, I have to cut it off. And the thing that I realized this time is that God has better plans for me. And He's going to bring me that guy. And He's going to bring me a godly man that won't pressure me into doing anything I don't want to. He's not going to force me to doubt what I believe in. He's not going to, not going to try to pull me away from my family and my friends and my church. And one of my favorite verses is Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." And I've been thinking about that these past few days. I'm like, this is what is making it so easy. I know that I see the future now. The first time I broke up with him, we wouldn't let each other see the future. I wouldn't see myself without him. And another verse that's really helped me is Philippians 4:8, which says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is any worthy of praise, think about these things." And one of the things that really hurt me when I broke up with him was that as I was breaking up with him, he said, "With you, during this relationship, I've learned more about Christianity than ever. But I don't understand why I need a relationship with the Lord. There are so many gaps in my life, and all you want to do is just fill it with faith, and I don't understand that." And that really broke my heart. That broke my heart more than breaking up with him. And I was telling my mom, I'm the only person in his life that can really minister to him, because he's not grown, he's not a Christian, his mother's not a Christian, and he doesn't surround himself with the right people. And I was like, how is he ever going to become a Christian? He doesn't want to listen to me. I can't do this. And she's like, it is not your job. You can't force him to become something that he doesn't want to be. And so what I want to leave you with is just try to talk to anyone about Jesus. And they may not ever be ready, and maybe they're just not ready right now. So just know that, just plant a seed in these people that you need. And
I was talking to Gabby after that breakup in the comments today, and I was just crying myself and like, God's just moving through her, and God's going to do something amazing through her. Shania, would you come up and share your story?
Hey everybody, I'm Shania. I'm a sophomore here
FCA, my friends and family have convinced me I can connect with God in any way. I just want to thank everybody for this experience. And elementary school, it was a struggle. I didn't make any friends. I was the lonely kid in school. I just didn't talk to anybody. I was the shy girl, which I still am till this day. And my teachers were like pushing me to make new friends. I was like, I'm not gonna make it, because who wants to be friends with a weird girl who's just different than everybody else? Middle school was the hardest time of my life. I still didn't have friends. I started to make those friends that would stab you in the back, and you just felt like you had nobody by your side, which I didn't. And then I started to get bullied by these girls. They always pushed me around. People would laugh at me. I was just an embarrassment to everybody in the school. And then I was getting harassed. 7th and 8th grade, I just wanted to end all the pain and suffering I went through. Then high school, 9th grade, still got bullied, pushed around by all these people. And then next thing you know, I hear about FCA. I'm like, okay, I could do this. I could connect more with God and meet new people that would be friends with me, not the ones that would stab me in the back every day and talk behind your back in a mean way. So I was like, okay, FCA. First meeting I went to, I was like, okay, sing songs, we worship Him, we do the Word of God, and I'm just like, this club was meant for me. And I just start coming almost every Thursday. I come to the altar. I pray to God that He will help me through whatever life struggle I'm going through. Middle school and high school, I wanted to end my pain and suffering. 7th grade was when I really wanted to end it. I was home alone. I was like, I can't do this no more. I went to the kitchen. I almost committed suicide. And I went to therapy for a few months, and I was like, I'm not going to connect with the Lord. I'm not going to be with I'm going to have no people in my life to care about. And then FCA and God and all my friends and family have stuck by my side through these tough times. And I'm just glad to call almost everybody in the school and FCA my family for helping me through everything I went through. And I just want to thank the Lord for sticking by my side since the day I was born. And I just want to thank everyone for this.
And next, Jonte. Come on.
Hi, I'm Jonte, and I'm a sophomore here. I actually moved here in October and stuff, so I'm pretty new to the school. I want to